Hi everyone, my name's Ray and I'm the chair for Surfrod Oahu. Today we're out here on beautiful Kailua Beach on Oahu, and I'm going to be talking to you about plastic pollution and this simple invention that I created to help us remove marine debris. So here on Oahu and in Kailua Beach, we have a huge problem with marine debris, specifically microplastics. Microplastics are particles that are smaller than 5 millimeters in diameter, or roughly the size of a pencil eraser. Now, if we were to use a screen to capture this material, a lot of these smaller pieces would fall through. But if we use water, the same stuff that brought the material to our beach, we can float out these microplastic particles and we can capture everything that is coming on our shores. So this device that I created here is extremely simplistic and can be made out of parts from any local hardware store. It mainly consists of a wheelbarrow, a battery, some pumps, and this plastic tub here. So what's happening is, if you can come over on this side, there's these two pipes here that are sucking the ocean water through, these pumps down below, and then feeding it through these hoses. There's a battery here in the front that is powering it and allowing the water to be circulated through. This tub then goes inside of the device, where as the water gets filled inside the tub, it will eventually completely fill the tub, will start overflowing on the lip, and will create a waterfall. And you're going to see how that's going to pull all of that marine debris over the edge. So what I did earlier is I went with a shovel and buckets and I collected some of this material around the beach. After you've collected it in buckets, you then take the material, you dump it inside of the chamber, and then you just let nature do the rest of the work. So as I stated, Kailua Beach has a huge marine debris and huge microplastic problem, and you can already see these really, really little guys that are floating up to the top along with the larger pieces. So as these buoyant plastics, these buoyant polymers float up to the top, see here on the lip how it's just being pulled over the edge. Now all this material is going to be captured in the wheelbarrow, while all of the dense and clean sand afterwards will stay inside of this tub. This again is a really simple process and is a tool that I've created to help educate and showcase how bad this issue is here, while also inspiring and innovating students to create something of their own. So these hoses I added to it so that way people weren't putting their hands in the sand, risking getting pricked or cut on anything that might be mixed in here. So you prod it into the sand here, and what that's going to do is agitate and percolate all of those buoyant particles to come up to the top. So it's designed to be used in teams of 3 to 6, where 3 people are using the device, 1 on each side, 1 person in the front that's kind of scooping everything over and adding water if they need to, and 3 other people are going out and collecting the material. When you have 3 people using this device, you can process 10 gallons, so 2 of these buckets of sand, in less than 5 minutes. And in that process, we are removing virtually everything that is here on our beaches that the ocean brought to us, all those buoyant plastics. So along with this invention that I created, I also work at the Center for Marine Debris Research in Waimanalo. It is there where we were able to quantify the effects or legitimize how effective this is, and using a fancy microscope, we were able to show that we can capture microplastic particles down to 25 microns. For reference, a human hair is around 100 microns, so about a quarter of the size of human hair can be removed by just using water. What this does, by showing how small these particles are, it allows people to understand the impact that it can have on different trophic levels or different food chain levels in the ocean. What happens with these plastics is they start to bioaccumulate and biomagnificate. Bioaccumulate means that in one specific species, so one fish, as it eats plastic, if it eats a large enough piece, it's not going to be able to pass it through its digestive system, so it just builds up inside of it. And that's bioaccumulating. But if that fish gets eaten by another larger organism up the food chain, those plastics then biomagnificate, along with all of the pollutants or persistent organic pollutants, POPs, that are inside of there. So this was a tool, again, that's mostly as an education piece. It's great for actually cleaning up the beach and removing this material, but it allows people to make the comprehension of how impactful this material is having on our environment, ecosystem, and the food that we're eating. So after you have prodded this material and you are no longer visually seeing any of the debris come to the top, so still got some pieces. You can see as I'm stirring this up, little bits are coming, but it's a lot cleaner than it was before. So for instructional purposes, we're gonna say that it's good. You dump the water back in the device. You're gonna take the tub with the sand, and you're gonna dump it right back onto the beach. So now that once dirty sand that was mixed in with all of those plastics and all that debris is now completely clean. We also legitimized the sand after using this process, showing that there was no contaminants left over afterwards. Now, coming back to the wheelbarrow, look at everything that we were able to capture. Everything from the large bits to these really, really small bits to pieces that are hard to distinguish between sand, again, unless you have the right equipment to show that this is a plastic polymer and not a piece of sand or calcium carbonate. So if we were to use a regular screen, as I was saying, on the beach to try and capture this material, a lot of these smaller microplastics, they're just gonna fall through, right? We'd only be capturing the big stuff. So that's where I took and created, so we've got a lot of stuff in here. I created this really small screen bag. This is a 25 micron screen mesh. Looks almost like cloth, but there's really, really small holes in here that are gonna capture all the particles. So after using this device throughout the entire day, or however long you choose to, the water is continuing to cycle, but you sometimes need to add more water, but you don't have to clean out all of the small particles until the very end. So after you've completed your day's cleaning, you can then take the water, dump all of it into this bag here, capturing and removing virtually everything that is here on our beach. This is a really simplistic tool that I created open source because I want others to create it. I want others to innovate and modify it however they feel necessary. I believe that this is a problem so large that no one individual person or organization can solve it, but we all must collectively work together in order to raise awareness and stop making these negative choices, essentially. Because it is our individual choices that are going to make a difference in changing our world. It is our behavioral choices of using single-use plastics, of continuing to consume plastic products that are negatively impacting our environment and ecosystem. So I'm going to take and pour this water into the bag, and we will show you all of the really small stuff here in a second. Okay, so from that one bucket that we used, this was the material we were able to capture. Now, spending an hour, a few hours out here, you can imagine how much you'd be able to remove and that impact that you would be able to have, not only on this fragile ecosystem here, but on the other people that are seen, asking questions, and then getting involved themselves. Again, in this process, we're just going down to this ocean here. We're grabbing the water, dumping it into the chamber, collecting sand, putting it in here. The sand goes back on the beach. The water goes back to the land, and we're just removing this material. I am then taking this mixture of material, because when you use buoyancy to separate the debris, you're also capturing the natural material, right? The sticks, the wood, the leaves. So in the next video we do, I will show you how we separate that natural and synthetic debris. But stay tuned. Thank you for watching. Again, I'm Ray Avazian, and if you aren't a member of Surf Rider, you should be. Bye.